This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Welcome to the From Pain to Purpose radio show. I'm your host, Eva Fulton. In this show, we explore the incredible journeys of resilience, healing, and transformation. In each episode, we will sit down with individuals who have faced unimaginable struggles and turned their pain into power, heartbreak into hope, and their challenges into meaningful change and finding new purpose in life. Through candid conversations and inspiring stories, we will uncover how pain, whether emotional, physical, mental, or spiritual, can be the catalyst for profound growth and a deeper sense of purpose. So if you are looking for motivation, insight, and real stories of triumph over adversity, you're in the right place. Let's get started on this journey from pain to purpose. Let's give veterans a voice through Military Broadcast Talk.
Hey, welcome everybody to the From Pain to Purpose radio show. Today is Saturday, December 6th, the year of our Lord, 2025. And I am super stoked about my guest today. Yep, I got super dressed up and I am in my sweats because I was like, I got to channel Bulldog, and I knew he'd be proud that I actually made it to the gym today. It's been about a month since I've been to the gym. I've got a little rusty. I was there with a headache, but I was there. And, I think it's really one of the important things that we need to make sure we address as veterans. Pain, I build the show on 4 pain pillars, and it's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And when one of those starts weakening, and I've talked about spoon theory before, and having pain, how do we manage some of these things? How do we set realistic goals? How do we make sure that we are taking care of the core body of who we are? And that, comes also knowing some of the folks that can help us in that journey. So Joe Bulldog Adcox, he's a former sergeant major in the Marine Corps, over 20 years of experience with fitness, of course, as a sergeant major, who wouldn't be? But he's worked on the coaching side of things, mentoring, physical fitness, and understands that, never quit attitude's important. He makes sure that he motivates and teaches clients that their hard work is not just as important, but it's also the consistency of what they're doing and keeping up with their fitness goals. So welcome everybody to our interview of the week with Joe Bulldog Adcox.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
There we go. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. And let's see, I know you're based out of Florida, but you are traveling, and the whole idea, as I think we were talking briefly before the show, is you can train from anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You can. It just depends on having the right plan, the consistency, things that, like you mentioned before, and just doing it.
Good. All right. So, how did you decide to make this switch in fitness after you got out of the military?
So I retired about 5 years ago, and traditionally so our major route is either project management or HR,
Uh-huh.
right? And I knew that I had, the skills and things in order to do that, but it wasn't something that I was very passionate about. Um, like you kind of mentioned before, I've been doing fitness um, since 2005 as a coach and a trainer. But in reality, growing up with sports, having mentors and coaches and things like that, and then spending so much time in the military, using that military discipline and coupling those things together, and it's just something that I knew that I was meant to do.
Did you see the importance of fitness as a key ingredient for folks even when they got out, to leverage it, not now because they had to in the military, but because they want to now?
Well, the biggest thing that I noticed, because my clientele is about 98% veteran,
Okay.
and doesn't matter how long they stay in, whether they, did basically 4 years or did, 20 plus years, there's a piece that's missing, right? Former athletes that have had coaches and, now they're off on their own, unless they really dug in and really learned how it all works,
Hmm.
then it makes it very frustrating. And then that starts to stem over on the wellness side and the mental aspect of, am I good enough anymore? Am
Right.
I ever going to be back in my heyday? Well,
Right.
it just really depends on your outlook. Um, I like to look at life as being ever progressive. And we kind of
Yep.
discussed a little bit earlier. It's not that hard to look back 1 year and see where you're at.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if, a year ago you could only do a mile walk. And now, now you can do a mile and a half walk. That is still progression.
Yep.
But, being a military veteran and, talking with veterans, we always gauge where we're at now based on where we were then. But we don't have the tools, the assets, we don't have the community around us. And that's what I foster. Not only with my team of coaches and I, but also the community of the other veterans when we do um, our various group calls throughout the week. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you that wellness aspect of, because I monitor and I have coaches in there that monitor in my app every single day. So when people log in food, we're able to kind of catch them along the way and give them guidance of, okay, let's hold off on the fat a little bit. You still got plenty of carbs and protein and calories. Um, because it's not that people necessarily overeat. They basically eat just enough 1 or 2 times a day, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, yep, I fell off the bike, and now, I have to stop for the day," and it just starts wrecking your metabolism over time. You know,
I think the biggest thing I always struggle with is getting enough protein,
you're not alone. Trust me, you're not alone on that.
I don't get enough. And I even on the way to the gym, I drank a protein shake. And I think that there's this part of me that also gets burnt out on the taste. Maybe I just, haven't figured out the magic. Oh, this tastes so good. I've got to have it every day. It becomes this mental thing. And then I push the protein shakes aside for a while. And all right, what are my other protein options?
Yeah,
It's a struggle, but I think that's probably a lot of people that it's this. How do I match uh, the diet side and blend it somehow with the physical fitness side? But like I was telling you before the show, the biggest challenge I had when I got out was flipping that switch that I'm not doing PT now because I was forced to do it. I wasn't doing the weigh-in stuff now because I was forced to do it. I'm choosing to do it now, to do it for me. And because I've had so many physical challenges from the car wreck injuries way back when in 92. I broke my back twice in 2022. I've had knee replacement. I've got 3 screws in each knee. I have all these different setbacks that I've had over the years. And every time it's like, restarting again. But it's at least I started somewhere.
No, absolutely. And those are some of the biggest hurdles that my team and I deal with is one, shaping expectations where you're at now by us looking back, 10, 15 or so years and thinking that you're that same person, right? In
Right.
regards to physical and mental and wellness and all those things. And once you kind of get across to people like, hey, there's a natural progression when it comes to longevity. And I specialize in corrective exercise as well.
Oh,
And
good.
what that typically means is identifying asymmetries and imbalances in the body, which a lot of times can get caused by prior injuries, um, and working around those things in order to strengthen and improve range of motion and all the aspects of the physical fitness side, because as we mentioned before, there's multiple pillars of fitness, right? But
Right.
specifically on the physical fitness side, it's got to be holistic in regards to recovery, strength, agility, range of motion, doing those recovery things, because just because you go to the gym or you work out or whatever the case may be, your body is going to tighten up and it's going, those muscles are going to get, they're going to get tighter over time, which causes strain on the joints. Well, if we don't do those proper recoveries with, things like cryotherapy, myofascial release and other aspects of it, the degrade of your physical fitness is going to go down and it's always going to be a precursor to injury.
Right.
So teaching people not only how to eat, but coupling that with a proper progressive program, and like I mentioned earlier, kind of like the crawl, walk, run
Right.
of getting back to where you should be now, not where you were before, but where you should be now if you continue to progress from then. So, the crawl, walk, run mentality, I know a lot of people in the military have heard that. And when I first get people on my app, it's kind of like when they go to boot camp. Like I'm going to be in there looking at every single thing that you eat, give you recommendations and suggestions, even though you do have a meal plan. I don't train people to get ready for shows. I can, and I can also, train people in regards to get ready for an athletic event. But the vast majority of the people that I work with, they just need to be taught, but they don't take the time to learn this part of it. I'll ask them, I'll be like, so what do you do for a living? Somebody will tell me, I don't know, I do this manual labor work or, something like that. I'm like, okay, that's great. Now, your job is quite physical. But if you don't train for that job, it's like showing up to a football game and thinking that you're going to be the greatest thing on the field. But you never train. All you do is show up for games. You're going to get hurt. You're going to have to sit the sidelines,
Right.
and you're not going to be very good, right? Um, I like to tell people, life is your sport. You want to be good at it. You don't want to have to sit the sidelines because you've got injuries, you've got health issues and things like that. And I'll be like, have you ever, taken a curriculum, or have you ever taken the time to learn how to do that? Because if you
Right.
haven't, you're not good at your current profession because you just started one day. No, you had to learn, you had to get taught, right? And then that is what I like to call people get empowered. And when they get empowered by knowledge, now it's not something that they struggle with, it's something that they start to strive in order to get better at, when they start to realize that, you've got to train the mind and get educated and then the body will follow. And it's the same thing when it comes to the mental aspect of it, you know, the power of positive speaking, right? Saying things in a positive manner. And then that way it kind of helps and exudes, you know, everything and everybody around you. Um, and not looking at taking care of your own self as being selfish, but looking at it as an investment for, you know, being there and being more productive and being able to help the people that are around you that depend on you the most. You know, I talked to a gentleman, I'd probably been a couple months, and I asked him, I said, what are your goals? What do you want to train for? And he kind of opened up to me and he said, I'm in my early 40s and I've got two, you know, small kids. And he said, if we were out somewhere and somebody picked up my kid and took off running, he goes, I don't know if I'd be able to catch him.
Oh,
Right. And that really
yeah.
hit home. And I was like, so how about, you know, if that's something that, you know, is in the back of your mind, you need to train. And if
Yeah.
you train and you train properly and you understand rather than here's your program, here's your meal plan, get on it. Well, we all kind of need a whiff them. We need to know the why, not, you know, just
Yep.
like, oh, let me ask the why of everything, but you know, what is it that is that really that pain point is what we like to call it. You know, what is that pain point of why we are talking right now?
Yeah.
And once they understand that and like, okay, there's no quick fix, and that's why I love fitness. There's no cheat code, there's no hacks. You know, there are some things out there, but
And you
it's
can
not for
see measurable
longevity.
results. You can see results. You just have to work toward it.
Yep. And you know, the hurry up here right now, you know, 8 second swap type of mentality, right? People think that, you know, there's just a quick fix. And there's not, because you gotta train your body just like you unintentionally deconditioned your body over,
Right.
you know, however many years. So you
Right.
have to retrain your body in order to perform like you want it to perform. And it doesn't take nearly as long as it did to get there, right? But if you just start on a regular app, up, here's your workouts, there's no real people in there, and you're just, you know, putting things in there, that gets kind of old after a
Yeah.
while because you're just trying, you feel like you're by yourself. And that, you know, having the community that I have and the group calls and having that almost internal fitness social media, you know, I have people that are now friends just because of that. And it just makes their network in a more positive manner rather than scrolling on, you know, social media and seeing all these unrealistic expectations, because everybody's different.
Right. Right. That makes
So the
sense.
mental aspect and understanding why it's important, you know, for longevity purposes, because I'm not going to depend on the VA to take care of me. I'm just
Oh,
not.
right.
You know, I go there annually for my blood work and my checkup and things like that, but you know, it's not one of those things where, oh, I got this ache in my knee, let me go get some medication for it, because
Well,
you know they're
it's
gonna.
still the onus is still on us to take care of us. We know our
Absolutely.
bodies the best. You have to listen to your body. And it starts with what you're putting in your body, but then what you're doing with it as well. That's one of the, I think, the main things that you know, it's if you go to the gym but you haven't addressed what you're the garbage in garbage out mentality side of things, what you're putting in it, then and you're still doing the potato chips and the sodas, so you're expecting to perform at 300 pt level, but you're ingesting all of the wrong stuff, you're not going to get the right results. So I like the approach on, you've got to be realistic with your expectations that this is a holistic approach. I think when we were talking for the show, it was like, equating it to, a vehicle. If you put high octane fuel in the gas tank, it's going to perform better than the, 87 version.
No, absolutely. And I'll ask people that question, be like, so where you were you born? what type of vehicle would you consider yourself? Are you a
Yeah.
muscle car, or you a bus? Like, what are you? Right. And it doesn't really matter, what that vehicle is, as long as you look at your body in the same regards to your vehicle. Um, I don't know how
I'm a
many times.
23 GMC Sierra, by the way. So
There you go. And see, yeah. But see, that's the thing though. Like, you'll see a lot of times the older demographic, right? They'll be out there waxing their cars. It very, very rarely ever leaves the driveway, but they're super proud of it and things like that. And it's just like, you take it and get its maintenance done, you wash it, you take it out and drive it every once in a while.
yeah,
But we're not doing that for ourselves, right? we're
right.
putting we're putting most of our time and effort in other things and other people, which is important, especially when it comes to putting time and effort into other people. But again, if our body, or our mental state, is slowly degrading, then how much longer are we going to be able to do that?
Right.
We're
What's
just
a
not.
good what's a good way, do you think, for people, I'm not a proponent of, the New Year's resolutions. I told you that my word for the year was elevate. And I think I've been hitting all the different factors elevate this year. So I'm really proud of myself for that. But I know I'm going to have to come up with a word for 2026. But in doing so, I think there's that stretch for folks. How do I get through the holidays with, the challenges of going to different events? And, there's lots of unhealthy food. I was having a conversation with a coworker, and the idea is they're going to cater everything. I'm sure there's everybody's going to pay like $15 a plate or whatever to participate. I can't eat that food because I only do organic and glutamate free. So, I have this, quite candid conversation with my friend. I said, I'm just letting you know, I'm going to be bringing my own food that day. I can't eat that stuff. Um, and that's a choice, but it's a choice that I think is important for me, and not having the headaches or paying the consequences of eating that stuff. And so I can't let peer pressure influence that I need to eat what everybody else eats. I've got to take care of me so that I don't have the headaches. I mean, is that a fair enough approach? Or do how would you manage, talking with a client that recognize these things, and how do I manage holiday or gatherings, large gatherings, with these temptations? Because that's really what it is, the temptation to go with the flow with everybody else.
So, very good question. And
Okay.
some of the feedback that I got from my clients, and I asked specifically after the holidays, how was this holiday, being the first big one of the holiday season, being Thanksgiving, how was this year different from before?
Yeah.
And just like I said earlier, the knowledge, they felt
Yeah.
empowered. They knew by working with me before, like, hey, we don't just go anywhere. And it's supposed to, they're supposed to have food, kids' birthday parties and things like that, right? You pre it, you I guess you pregame yourself with food, and you go in there with a reasonable appetite. And so you've learned to listen to your body, and your body is it's a very well-oiled machine
Yeah.
once it's been taught, once you've trained it, and it will tell you exactly what it needs, when it needs it. We just have to know how to listen to
Yeah.
I'll blow people's minds when I tell them. I'll be like, so when you get hungry, you get those hunger pains, right? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, so what do you do then? Well, if I feel like I've eaten too much or whatever, I'll just ignore it. Well, that hunger pain goes away. And here's the reason why: because your body's metabolism and your basal metabolic rate are something that's structured based off of your weight. And then once you know how to listen to your body, it will tell you, you know, when to eat, when not to eat. And when you have those hunger pains, that's your warning order saying, hey, it's getting about time to eat. And if you don't feed it, that hunger pain goes away. And the reason is because it has to slow down your metabolism, start storing fat for the winter, right? Just like a bear, and it will start cannibalizing your muscle tissue. That's why you don't stay with that hunger pain forever. And, and I deal a lot with body composition. Um, and I'll have people that are thin, we're working on putting on weight. I have people that start out at a certain weight, say like 215 or something like that, and then we'll get them dropped down. And then what will happen is we'll change up their macros, and I'll usually go up a little bit in calories. And the
Mhm.
next thing you know, this 215 looks completely different from the 215 before
Oh,
because we've
right.
changed the composition of the
Because they
muscle and the
lost the
fat.
fat and gained the muscle, and now they wear it differently. Clothes are going to fit differently too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the biggest thing to remember with that is, and what I, teach and coach is, it's all about the macronutrient spread.
right. I
I
think I
start
think
out,
when we talked, I'm supposed to be on a 50-30-20, right?
yep.
But getting that 50 to 80 grams of protein is tough. It's tough. I mean,
Yeah. Especially being out, right? And as people learn how to eat with me, again, they feel like they know what they're doing when they're out and about. They go to, they have to stop like, somewhere like Chick-fil-A or go to an Italian restaurant or something like that. Well, if they have no clue of where they're at eating for that day, what do? We pretty much like, yeah, kind of nibble or let me get a salad or whatever. And then next thing you know, you've undereaten you have been under eating for
right.
so long that your body is in a constant state of stress, right? Because it's not getting fed what it needs, and it's having to compensate for it because the body will always go into survival mode. Always.
If
Um,
you see me at work, because I do pre-pack my breakfast and lunch by the time, so I'm leaving the house at 4:10 in the morning. I'm getting it to the office at 6 o'clock. I'm already hungry by the time I'm getting there at 6 in the morning. So I'm eating my yogurt with honey and cod liver oil. Oh, we lost him. Uh, yeah, we lost him. Hopefully he'll be right back. I know he's gonna. There he is.
I'm back.
Okay. So I eat that breakfast, and then by like 10:30, 11, I'm starving again. But that's usually by my biggest meal, and I have a snack afterwards before I leave, because by the time I get back to the house, it's already 6:30 and I'm in bed by 7:30. So I have to eat my main foods at work, and I'm like grazing all day long. I mean, I think it I feel funny saying that, but I've got food at my desk all day long because I can only eat a little bit at a time. I only have half of a stomach. So I'm literally grazing all day long. And I don't know. Does that sound funny that I say that?
No, I mean, one of the biggest things I preach is like breakfast for most people is actually the meal that they can control the most, whether
Yeah.
you eat before you go to work or whatever the case may be. So setting yourself up for success with, the 50, 30, 20 of the macro spread and coming out of the chute, what I like to say about 400 or 500 calories, your body has something to work with. A
Right.
lot of people run into, the problem that they run into is they'll eat a little bit in the morning time, and then like, yes, I'm starting off great, right? And then it doesn't match up with the physical activity. They'll be physically active throughout the day, or go work out or do their workout in the morning time, but then they'll start eating more as the day goes on. But you were physically active, and it's not matching up.
Right.
So it really depends on people's schedules as well, because I deal with people in all different time zones, and people that, work overnight, nurses and things like that. It's like, okay, maybe your morning is in the evening time, but it still
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Whenever you break that fast of sleeping, um, think about it. If you sleep, we'll say what a lot of people, on average, about between 6 and 7 hours.
Yeah.
And then you hit 100 calories, and then here it is like, oh, it's lunchtime, it's noon. You've basically been fasting for, over 12 hours,
Right. Right.
every single day. And then you're physically active in the morning time. And then your physical activity starts to drop towards the evening time. But yet we're getting hungry and hungrier. And then dinner, our last meal of the day.
Everything is mismatched. It's right. It's not
Exactly.
aligned. Got it. And that makes sense. All right. So I know you're going to have to go. You have some family, you believe in work-life balance, and you have some family stuff to do. What's a question that I should have asked but didn't ask about, this whole idea of fitness and I can't help but recognize that, we lost, somebody to suicide the other day. I mean, not that we're probably not seeing them every day, but this was one that was in the news, very prominent. And, maybe part of it is just the context of starting your day out with fitness. And, what's probably a question that we could ask, that I could ask you, that helps people reframe that a lot of the skills and things that we learned in the military are still just as applicable in the civilian life. But because we got out, we dumped that, like we dumped our rucksack and said, I'm not picking that up again. How do we purposely pick some of things back up, because they really are who we are?
I'd say it's all about picking things up where you're at. I'd say it's basically just not knowing how, because when you go through whatever boot camp, and then it's constant instruction, it's constant coaching, and then you pay attention to those things, and then boop, you flip the script. Now you're the one teaching and mentoring and coaching, right? And we kind of lose that because we don't have that anymore. We don't have those
And have
Marines or those
somebody telling
soldiers.
us, nobody's in my ear yelling at me to do this, but we have to give ourselves permission and grace to now do that because it's good for us.
Yeah, and I'd say probably the question that you didn't ask is, why is it that I do what I do? And
Okay,
why I
yeah.
started doing what I do. The main reason is, I kind of started it as a hobby first, because as soon as I retired, I started managing a gym, a smaller gym, and I learned the business aspect of it. The fitness industry can be very not nice sometimes, right? Looking at people as dollar signs or looking at people as a number, that didn't sit very well with me.
Right.
So I started doing and then not only that, but losing friends that I went to high school with, play sports with, for in their mid 40s, lower 40s, because they just kind of kept on and eating and doing the same things, and and it was unfortunately to their detriment. And then on the military side, the mind and the body are very closely related. If you don't like what you aesthetically see in the mirror, and then you start to put all your value of yourself in that, right? Because been there, done that, and now I'm not anymore. And then going through some tough times myself, especially in the first couple of years of being retired. um that's the one constant that kept me through. And there may have been a little bit of vanity
Is it?
involved in that as well, but it got me to the point of, what, if this is helping me, and I have the tools, and I can teach and coach people to show them, hey, let me show you how to get to Maintenance Mountain. It's a long, treacherous journey depending on how far you've fallen in the past. But once you get up on top of Maintenance Mountain, it's really not that hard anymore, because now your body's trained, you're educated, but it's just as easy to slide down the backside of Maintenance Mountain.
Right.
if you're not paying attention anymore. Because I'll have people that train with me for a while, and I'll be like, all right, we don't necessarily need to track anymore. Just continue on with your workouts, now that you've learned along the way. And they will self-report and be like, you know what, I'm going to track for, a couple more days here and there. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Because you got to put yourself in check, because inherently our bodies are very lazy. They're going
Yep.
to do what is the easiest route. It's our mind that we have to train in order to get the body to react and do the way that we want it to. And ultimately that's what it's all about. So, you know, taking care of people in regards to, like, hey, it's okay, your bike wobbled a little bit, but I'm right here. You're not going to fall off of it. You know what I mean? And that part of it is very fulfilling to me, especially, because I'll train people for 3, 4, 6 months, and at the end I'll talk to them and be like, you know what, I think you're ready. I think you're ready. And they'll be like, I think I agree with you. Right. And we'll talk a
Yeah.
little bit of why that they're ready to go off on their own, and always have an open invite to come back. But then there's some people at the end of theirs, they'll be like, all right, so I think we've made some progress, but I don't think that we're next necessarily ready to graduate yet.
Yeah.
Um, because some people may need a couple of semesters worth, right,
Right.
in order to, really learn and understand how health, fitness, and wellness all work together. And once you get all three of those aspects jiving, then it's going to make all other aspects of your life better, especially for those ones that depend on you the most.
Right. Right. I appreciate it. Folks, I have already put in there in the chat, and you can see it on the screen. You can reach him at Bulldog Fitness. Yeah.
Bulldog Essential Fitness. Yep.
Oh,
And
there you
essential is
go.
the part, the very important part of it.
Bulldog Essential Fit. He's ISA certified, so read that on screen. It says Bulldog ESS Fit ISSA certified trainer.com. But you can also find him out there on social media, Joe Bulldog Adcox. And I think he had told me before that y'all can go ahead and PM him. Let him know that, hey, you watched the show and we sent you to him through there, so he can know where you heard about him. I think that's important to, to help establish, is this a great venue? Because I'd love to have you back on and, help. I think it's the accountability side and trying to help people know that, as they do hit that curve at the beginning of the year, that there's help out there, and you don't have to try to just manage your gym membership by yourself. Now what do I do at the gym? Because that's where I struggle, is that machine is too many choices, and anyways, so
Yeah, and anybody can feel free to send me a message on social media, and I'll get you on a consultation call. And the biggest thing about those calls is I meet you where you're at. So
yeah.
if eating's your biggest problem, and you have a pretty good workout routine, and be like, hey, then we'll just coach on the eating side, and vice
Right.
versa. But the main thing is just getting the word out there, and helping people, get past and be like, look, you're not done yet. You want to be able to, all the way until the day you die, with that sports car or whatever, as a body of a vessel going sideways, boom, be like, yep, I exhausted all of it. I used all of it. So,
We can
um,
get you past the phase. Well, which way do I go? Which way do I go? Reach out to Bulldog and get you started right. So thank you so much for joining us, and hope you enjoy your good family evening.
yep, I will. Thank you very much for having me, and I'll talk to you
Yeah.
again soon.
Okay. See ya.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, folks. Thank you for staying here. And we got a heart. I'm not sure who dropped the heart, but thank you so much. So, why is it important? This health journey of mine, I think I've been pretty open about health. I have struggled over the years from a variety of different ailments. You know, some of it is caused by what you see in the background. I do have Gulf War syndrome, Gulf War illness. It is a thing. I've been part of the American University study. There's a diet study that's out there. You can Google it. I think part of it's been sponsored by the VA. And that is to go organic and glutamate free. It has made a huge it has made a huge change in my health and fitness side of things. I suffer from really bad headaches. And I've had one today. I don't know what has slipped into, something that I ate in the last couple of days. My body is very sensitive and I get headaches. So I went to the gym with a headache. And why did I do that? Folks, I haven't worked out in a month. I don't like that I haven't worked out. I don't like that I try to stay pretty physically fit, but I knew that even though I was not feeling good, all I did was scale back what I did. And I only did a mile on the elliptical. I didn't do 2, 3, 4 miles. And that was, I did enough to help get something in. And then I did some, free weight stuff. I did some, I did do some leg presses because I tried to focus on getting some of the exercises that I need for my hiking, because hiking is one of my big fitness goal sides of things. It's my physical outlet for stress, for just getting the fresh air. And I have to, if I'm not out there hiking and it's cold weather, I still need to make sure that I am maintaining my body that is going to handle it when I get back out there on the trail in the spring. And I'm not now just, mush legs that isn't going to be able to, work on the Appalachian Trail. That's where I go. Most of the time I go out on the AT with a pack. You saw the intro video that I did. That was hiking on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. And so, my brain has been very focused. I want to get back there on the trail. I want to get back on the Camino. But I know I have some health things that I'm looking forward into doing after the first of the year, that I can't schedule any of those big events until I am in recovery mode. And I will be transparent about that stuff when I have some dates and everything. Here's it. I think Terry, she popped over on here and gave us a comment. She says, I think food does play a big role in overall health. Yes, it really does. My body is really, really sensitive. And I've had to make some of these big changes. I was so excited to, so I went and got groceries for the week, got some chicken. They had organic chicken at the grocery store for $5. I was so excited. It was organic and it was free range. So that was a big win. And I got some veggies. I've got a bison stew on the stove right now, so I'm ready to get dinner. But I really focused on what are my options. Like I was telling you, I've got to, so the ratio that I'm supposed to eat, this is for me, is 50 to 80 grams of protein a day. And then 30 carbohydrates, 20 fats. And it doesn't take long, and there are apps out there, guys, where you can track some of these things. So one of them is the MyFitnessPal app. I don't know if y'all have that, but that's one of the apps. There's some other apps out there. I love tracking my fitness inside Pacer. So I have a couple of different apps that I use, and I have dive logs. I have all kinds of stuff in here. When I'm out there on the trail, I use the Gaia GPS app, but there's also another one, actually a couple of other ones. Trail Link is another one far out, and there's the Hiking Project. But one of my goals next year is to add in golfing. So I'm a PGA Hope. If y'all can look this up, PGA Hope is the golfing for veterans. Why do I have a smudge on my eyes? Sorry. Look up PGA Hope. They teach veterans how to play golf. They have some one-on-ones and groups, and it is a good camaraderie event, camaraderie side of things. One of my very first interviews last year on the From Pain to Purpose show is Deep Sea Valkyries. DSV currently has their applications open if anybody's looking at diving and scuba diving. That is scuba diving out there in the Bahamas. Man, it is so amazing. I had never dove before joining on with Deep Sea Valkyries, but I got my scuba certification. I'm actually an advanced diver. Love going out there and diving. It's just beautiful. Yes, I love swimming with sharks too. I'm kind of crazy like that, I guess. I'm trying to think, what else have I done? So hiking, obviously, between this, I love getting out there. I didn't realize until recently, thinking about hiking. I've taken my kids out hiking. Even when they were little, I used to, when Jordan and Josh were little, I took them, out there, going to the different castles. I just really enjoyed getting out there and smelling the fresh air, looking at, the history side of things. I had Josh in my backpack. There's, the kid backpacks, the toddler ones. I backpacked everywhere. I even used to mow the lawn with him in the backpack when I was in Killeen. But I just am out there all the time. I'm just as comfortable outside in the woods as I am being nerdy in front of the computer. So anyways, I know I'm kind of nerdy like that, but that's okay. But it's these things that have kept me, going. So I broke my back twice in 2022. And for any of those folks in North Texas, you saw me really from about late 2019 to early 2023. I was walking around in a walker for about 4 years, I guess. Yeah, is that right? 2 or 3 years. I was walking around with the red rollator walker. I had plantar fasciitis in both heels, really, really bad, was getting the heel injections, had the surgery on my right foot during COVID, and then ended up breaking my back twice in 2022. So I've had plenty of setbacks in the last few years, but I just keep, whenever I have that setback, I just get back up and get moving again. And, like I said, and what Joe was saying a while ago, you don't have to start where you were. I mean, you can kind of maybe test to see where, what you could do, but you don't want to overly be aggressive and try to, think that you're going to go to the gym and run an 8-minute mile on the treadmill when you really need to be at an 11-minute mile. Start slow. It's okay to start slow. Give yourself the grace. to do it incrementally, because if you bite off more than you can chew, then you're going to end up with an injury. And we don't want injuries. That's going to set you back more. You're going to get frustrated. And that then you're going from both, not just the mental pain, but now you've got the mental and emotional pain that you're aggravating, and your stability is, not going to be there. So slow it down. Give yourself grace. It has taken me a long time to learn how to give myself grace and be disciplined, not just from the food side, but also from this physical fitness side, and making sure that, when I get out there on the trail in the spring, I can't expect that I'm going to, go up towards Pennsylvania, where all the rocks are. I'm probably gonna be nicer to myself, start at the local trails that are not quite so rocky, and then build back up over there, because I need to finish Pennsylvania, and then I can also go back and go to Virginia and start south, because I want to get more miles in. I posted the other day, I've logged over 2 million steps this year. That is just phenomenal. I'm so excited. Who would have thought that Eva would get over 2 million steps? But this is a big deal for me. I can't believe that I got over 2 million steps so far this year, and the year's not even over. Obviously I need to get to the gym more if I'm going to be able to get more steps. But I'm just excited that I got, that I've logged 2 million steps so far. That was really shocking. Thanks, Terry. That is awesome. I just couldn't believe 2 million steps. That was just crazy. But when it's little by little, it adds up, and you don't realize how many you're doing until you start seeing that. And I don't know, that was just, it was a little win. That's what I felt like. It was a little win, and more of a goal that, when I have some of that time off that I'll be doing next year, that, it's going to be for a cause, that it's going to be better. And man, it'll be worth it. It's all about healing and everything. So I have about 7 minutes left. I touched a little bit on, some of the suicide stuff. And, I posted a video the other morning, yesterday, I think it was yesterday morning, really early, 4:30 in the morning. And, reach out and talk to one buddy, right? Every day. If we can just reach out and, reach one, I think that we as the community are going to be part of the solution. And, we don't have to necessarily leave it to only the VA, but we can be part of the solution. And it starts with ourselves. It starts with our own mindset, whether you're a veteran or not, that your health and welfare starts with you. And you have to give yourself enough love and grace. There was a friend of mine at work that had sent, she was amazed at what I'm doing, but she doesn't have time to focus on any of her own personal care, because she's so focused on, helping everybody else. And I get it. But if you are so focused on helping everybody else, your cup starts dwindling down, and you have to fill your own cup. And that starts with your own health and welfare right here. Remember part of the airplane instructions, not the airplane instructions, the airplane doesn't give you instructions, but the flight attendant does. Put the oxygen mask on yourself. Then you can help somebody else. And that's not to sound selfish, but it is self-care. You have to take care of you before you can help other people. And it's not selfish, folks. I'm letting you know, you are giving yourself the love and grace that you have to take care of who you are. about it's self-preservation, and that's not being narcissistic, that you have to take care of you before you can help other people. And there are a lot of caregivers out there, and that's great and fun and dandy, and I'm not trying to take that away from you, but you have to take care of you, or you can't help take care of somebody else. That's just the bottom line. You have to take care of you. And if we're only leaving it up to a pill solving a problem, then the things that they taught us in the military about fitness, remember, an idle mind is a devil's playground. We have to stay plugged in to keep ourselves occupied. Pick up a habit, write, journal, do something artsy, crochet, do some woodworking. I mean, if physical limitations is part of the issue, then help do something that is not physically demanding. I hate saying this. Don't do something that's so physically demanding that you're, breaking your profile. I'm going to use a good Army word. Don't break your profile, but you do have to work on doing some healing. So, I have some great guests coming up in the next couple of months that I think is going to really be a part of that. So David Morrow is, let me open up my notes. David Morrow, I found him on LinkedIn. So he's a former infantry officer. I can say that. David Morrow is a former infantry officer with the Canadian Armed Forces, and he has some things to share about his health journey that he has been on, along with some other things going on with Canadian veteran care. And that's really important. I want to make sure I pause on that, because there are some things going on with the veteran population in Canada, and I have a very good friend of mine that's up there in Canada too. Maybe I can reach out to him and get some insight as well. But there's some stuff going on that I think we in America might want to pay attention to as well. But so David is involved, like I said, with his own health journey and fitness and stuff. Then we have Rush on December 20th. He's a podcaster in North Texas. Ran into him a few years ago, was on his show. Man, I forgot that I was even on his show, but he's going to come on the show and tell us about his pain to purpose journey and finding the mic and his passion for music, because he has that as well. I've heard some of his music. Brian Sims is going to join us on December 27th. He's the director of Project Rebirth, and that is a peer-to-peer veteran support group focused on recovery. Then we have Samantha Jean Jasso. Now, Samantha's going to join me in my house, in my home in North Texas, and she's going to share her pain to purpose story and how she's actually turned some of her challenges and into some recent personal accomplishments. So I'm so excited for her. Going to be in person in my home, and that will be really cool. Then Vets in STEM on January 10th. Joining me is a really good friend of mine, Gerald Bennett and Ricky Ritchie. Gerald is a West Point grad, and he was a starting quarterback for the West Point team for a while. And then he's been building his personal legacy focused on bridging the youth, bridging the gap between youth and the pipeline to STEM career fields from cradle to career in low-income areas. And then we have Ricky, who is leading the space on recruiting veterans into the STEM career fields through his organization called Telecom for Vets Inc. And I think there's going to be a great opportunity and conversation to have these two veteran-focused areas, from youth to veterans, in the STEM field. And I think we're going to have some great collaboration before our very eyes. So anyways, thank you all for joining me today. And I hope you all have a very blessed week. And be blessed. See you on Monday with the Revivalist radio show. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.